Kia ora koutou, kei te kai whakahaere mātua at Cogo. I'm Ben, founder and CEO at Cogo. I'm going to give you a quick run through of what Cogo does because the Claude Cowork experience we've built actually is important to understand what we are as a business. And then I'll run you through how it all works. I'll talk you through Cogo. Feel free. It's a platform that helps homeowners and those that own a car to electrify, so solar panels, heat pumps and the like. So I'll run you through the product and then we'll talk more about the Claude experience. First thing you do as a user of this product is you add your address of your property, so anywhere in New Zealand. We work with CoreLogic, now rebranded as Cotality. So we pull the property data on your house, you can update it and say actually there's no longer 6 people, we've kicked the kids out and we're down at 3 or 2. And as you do that, you're given information on how much money you'll be able to save each year in reducing your energy bills. You might say, actually, the heating system is actually mains gas, it's not electric heating. Similar with hot water, maybe we're on gas as well. So as you're doing this, it's dynamically telling you how much you'll save. We're operational in Australia and the UK as well, just in terms of context. You can also chuck your car in, so whatever vehicle you've got, chuck your license plate in, and it will pull information on your vehicle. And that information will be including like the size of the car, the type of car, how big it is, how far you drive, everything, even the color. So this is the 2020 Mazda CX-9. You add that information again and you'll see that the amount you can save in bills each year will obviously go up a lot because petrol's a seriously expensive thing these days. What we then do is then recommend things you can do. We talk about your current energy costs and what you can save in monthly. You can chuck an electric car in there and you'll see what it looks like. But giving you an idea, we use this platform to help and educate people. It's about 9 months old. But the first thing, once you've seen those savings, is you then pop your email address in, and we can then recommend to you installers locally to you. So there's effectively a whole bunch of installers that, given I want solar panels and heat pumps and the like, all around New Zealand, we've got a bunch of installers. So that's Cogo. You think of us as like we're trying to acquire homeowners to use the platform. And we're also then working with all these suppliers to help support them. So as I mentioned, we work with Genesis, ASB, a whole bunch of different channels to acquire people to use the platform. Victoria University, so employers. We work with individuals like Rodcar. And that gives you a picture of what Cogo does. What we, as a team, we have an organization that's across those 3 markets. But like with anything, when you get a technology that comes your way like AI, where it's like, has the absolutely profound experience of making us 10 times more impactful, you take that opportunity, and I'm going to give you a demo of what we've done with Cowork. Hands up first. Who has heard of Claude? Great, I'm in the right room. Who currently has a subscription to Claude? Great. Who has the desktop app? Great, good, this is good. Cool, so what I'm about to show you is something that we've built at Cogo. Well, I guess I built. I'm not a coder, so I can't write code. I've never written a line of code in my life. But I'm going to talk you through how we've used Cowork to build a fleet. I think it comes on the next screen here, yeah. A fleet of 40 agents that effectively run the entire New Zealand, Australian and UK market. So this is just going to be a New Zealand demo today. But we basically built 40 agents that manage all of our sales, all of our marketing, all of our account management, all of our press, everything effectively around customer-facing stuff. So all of that stuff around engaging with Genesis, ASB, all the work with our different channels to acquire users. So think of it in terms of like normal words. It's like communicating, stakeholder management, public relations. There is still a human. I'm involved. I do about 0.1 of my life now is dedicated to managing this entire fleet of agents, but it is an absolute revolutionary thing. So let's run through how it works. As I said, there is 2 core strategies. So this is a presentation. We've got some quick Q&A at the end of the day, which I'm happy to answer any questions people have. But basically, there's those 2 strategies: user acquisition and supply management. I forgot to say that you can download this presentation or go online and look at it right now if you want. So kogodemo.netlify.app. So if you want to go and play along with me, you're welcome to. So basically, the user acquisition agents go through and do research, analytics, business development, customer success, and QA and comms. So there's a suite of agents that do all that work. And then humans are still involved. So we do still have a role in this world, but we do fun things like go to events, meet real people, and do things that are effectively, at the moment, unable to be done by agents. So just to be clear, this isn't just a agent-built 100% system. But let's run through one of the strategies. So I'm going to run through, as I said, we've got these 5 different ways we bring people to the platform. So we first have banks and energy retailers. So they, as I said, Genesis and ASB and the like, they bring us homeowners to the platform. We have employees, so people who work in large organizations, EcoStore, Victoria University and the like. Influencers like Rodcar and others, local government, and community groups. So there are 5 channels, but I'm going to run you through how the experience works for our banks and energy retailers. So it starts at 9 o'clock at night. So I'm going to run you through the entire overnight system. Firstly, every meeting that I have is recorded by a transcript. It's not a product like Fathom and stuff. It just records on transcript. And my agent at 9 o'clock comes through and reads all those transcripts and summarizes all those meetings and logs all the actions in the relevant part of our CRM. So it effectively does what quite a few people might be doing already, probably paying money for it. But basically, Cowork has an agent that I've built that goes through and does all those things for me. So it effectively figures out what actions came out of that meeting, who should we tell about those actions, and files them in our CRM. Everyone knows what a CRM is? Yep, good. So CRM is where all of our customers' data, so all of our banks that we've met, that's where it goes. Then there's an intelligence layer that comes in, and so at 9:20 at night, I have a fleet of agents that go through and basically summarize all of the relevant news stories that are relevant for those banks and energy retailers that are in our target list and our current clients. It goes through and summarizes every piece of news that might be relevant, and then it logs that information into a research log overnight. So anything that's relevant for our banks, energy companies, both clients and prospects, it logs it. And so an example here is it found that a regional bank in New Zealand has announced plans to make a new green loan, and then other things that you can read. I then, one further up, we then run analytics, so this goes and grabs all the data on those, I was playing around with the product, so it goes and grabs all of the information on what the people who use our product have done. How many people have decided to go for a solar with Genesis? How many people have decided to think about an EV with ASB? And it populates all that information, and so what that does is it provides, I don't know, who does sales in the room? Any salespeople? Yeah. Account management. People, basically, one of the jobs that we have as organizations to try and get sales is to try and find something what's relevant, what's a hook that we can use to try and sell or to try and keep a customer happy. Then we've built a CRM, and so CRM, we used to use HubSpot, and we just decided to build a new version in Notion, which is another software product that has been pretty integral to what we do. And so here's your standard CRM, and what it says is it says which company you're talking about, what the status that company's at, and what the next step should be. First things first is it's picked up that I've had a meeting with one of these banks, and so it's already logged that there's a meeting. You'll see the next step here was for yesterday as the human. So it runs at 2 o'clock in the morning through till 3:30, and it reconciles all the things that happened during the last 24 hours. So it goes and picks up that I've had a meeting, goes and reads the meeting notes, it sees what's sitting in the CRM as an action, and it goes and says, okay, cool, well, they wanted, I don't know, a security review to be sent to them. It then logs that and then sets the next task for it to go and then send that security file. So it's basically going through and reconciling all the things that I do. I'm never on my email apart from the morning, which I'll tell you in a second. But it goes through and logs all those things and sets these next tasks for these agents to do. So it looks like there's three things that the agents are supposed to do today, which is send this file, send this thing, and do a monthly touch point with a client. The agent then, next step of this is then to action those things, and you'll remember that there was that research event of a regional bank announcing a green loan. So we had an early talk, like we were going to follow up with that bank sometime in the future on the 23rd of June. So it does all the actions that it said it was going to do, and then it proactively sees there's a bit of news that's come forward that it should then go and reach out to that particular bank in advance of doing it what it was going to do, which is a week away. So it's like, hey, we just saw you in the news, awesome, let's go and have a chat. And so it's all drafting, all sitting with me then to look at. But before we go through and, I guess, have a human involved, we do lots of QA. So this is almost like the heart of the product, is being able to help sales and customer success, account management people who are managing these relationships with these banks and these prospects. It sort of does all of that hard work for them. It does all of the researching, it does all these analytics, and it then creates these amazing emails that's like, hey, Tier 1 bank, great meeting with you yesterday. It writes amazing emails. Great meeting with you yesterday. One of the follow-up items was that I have to send you the security brief. Here it is, it's attached. Look forward to following up with you in due course. And then you'll find the next day, it'll set the next step as agent check-in in 1 week if it hasn't heard back or whatever. So it effectively automates the entire stuff that we spend as sales and marketing people doing a lot of time. So that's the sort of reconciliation. We then do QA. So as a QA, research, analytics, BD, and customer success. So across all of those strategies to acquire users from banks, energy retailers, and things, it then does a QA to say, have you logged the right entries and not going back in time 3 weeks to find news that's not new? And so there's a lot of QA around making sure that what these agents are doing is doing a good job. In BD, for example, you can't write an email that's not threaded on the email that you get. So people are, threading emails is pretty common stuff, but you have to make sure the agents are doing these things. And then you get basically like this QA approach, which ensures that they're doing a good job. So that's the QA side of things. Then finally, this is when I come into it. So I wake up in the morning, and effectively I get a briefing that's sent to me that says, hey, I've got 12 draft emails waiting for you. Here are all the different clients that you need to basically go and read those emails quickly. Check that they're saying, here's the QA report, here's things that didn't go well. It then recommends changes to the prompt. It gives me press releases that are written for me, ready to go based on what's going on the previous day, or what's happened in the last 24 hours. So that's sort of the whole night distilled. I'm then going to run through just like the whole end-to-end journey. But in terms of like my job, before I get onto that, is I still have a role, so I still get up and see all these emails that come in and say, okay, I need to reply to this one, and it's sitting there in my inbox. So I do QA the actual writing, because obviously anyone that's been getting emails these days that spam you from AI things, you can usually pick them pretty well. So you have to train the AI to write good email, but you have to provide a human in the loop, is what it's called, to make sure that the emails that are going out your organization are not, haven't got issues, let's say. So yeah, once you've done the whole briefing, the end-to-end journey, so I'll run it through. As I said, you've got user acquisition, so being able to find homeowners that are interested in electrifying their home. That's definitely one of our core strategies. The next strategy is that supplier management, so being able to manage all those suppliers. I mostly talked about that acquiring users in terms of the flow, but the same thing works for suppliers. So being able to work with our installers, work with these solar companies, and make sure that they're doing things like following up with the leads that we're sending them. We've got a relationship manager agent that goes in and manages all the relationships, all the different Fisher & Paykel's and Harrison's and all these organizations that talk to us. They're all managed by agents to make sure that we don't spend lots of time writing emails all the time or managing these things. So end-to-end starts with that meeting filing agent. They're in 5-hour blocks to optimize what's called that 5-hour window. I don't know if anyone gets that Cowork window where you're like, oh, I'm running out of tokens, but so they're optimized through the night in 5-hour blocks. So this is the supplier management. So you'll see that intelligent layer, research and analytics comes in first. And then at about 2 o'clock in the morning, where I'm sound asleep, the fleet of business development, customer success, and those relationship management agents then writing all those emails. They basically reconcile the CRM, check what was sent overnight, check any new meetings, check any new LinkedIn conversations I've had, and they basically then draft all those emails. But before I get to it, I want to make sure that those QA agents come through and assure all the quality of those products, as in the emails, the LinkedIn outreaches. I do that press scan, so that generates me press releases. Both agents, in terms of the user acquisition and supplier management strategies, they write me an email, and I wake up, have a coffee, and look at what needs to get done. So that's the end-to-end. Last slide, or last little thing, and then I'll show you one thing before I finish up. Making sure I'm in time. Yep, 4 minutes. So this is like what we were doing, what I'd imagine this job would take before agents. And so it's fair to say we've built that supplier marketplace only quite recently, so we didn't really have anybody running it. But my assumption is that it would take, in New Zealand, about 2 full-time equivalent people to run this if they were running it without agents. You could argue it might even be more. And in those two people, they might be able to manage each about 100 or 200 different prospects or clients. So you sort of got a limit to like how many people you can literally keep emailing and keep managing. I don't know, for anyone that does sales and things, and how long are everyone in their inbox, right? And I used to be in my inbox 3 or 4 hours a day. It's now about 20 minutes, and that is a long amount of time that you're spending writing emails. The bane of most existences of sales and customer success people is the CRM, and so not being in that CRM was a big part of the role. And so let's just say the daily cost is around $1,000. Show me the money. I'm going to talk about this. The whole system we built, it took about 2 days to build with Claude. I'm not a coder, built the whole thing. And it's now being able to be run by me for about 0.1 of my time. I reckon 500 probably or more clients I'll be able to manage because it can effectively automate all this stuff. 20 minutes, as I said, in the morning, check my email. 0 minutes in my CRM. I never go to my CRM anymore. $69 is that number by the fee, but here's the big number, $5 a day, $5. So the entire system, all those agents, all that stuff, roughly takes about 65 to 70% of my Claude Cowork cost. So in other words, it's crazy. And so you're comparing an old world, and I bet you there'll be examples in every one of your organizations where you can do this. In your old world, you're spending about $1,000. In the new world, you could spend about $70 and get a better outcome. Now, obviously, we're talking about people in some cases in this regard. I didn't have to take anybody off this part of the business because I just put that person into Australia. So there's no like actual people cost. I will hire more people in my organization now than I would before because they're able to use these 40 agents. So yeah, we like to say agents do the legwork, human make the calls, and small team cost, big team results. And we are now able to scale this organization across the world, and we never would have been able to do it with hiring lots of people. So that's how it works. I'll give you one quick look before Justin kicks me off because I've got a minute. Is that all right? One quick look. This is basically how it sets up. So Claude Cowork has a bunch of what's called scheduled tasks. So here's one of the scheduled tasks. So this is the BD agent for those banks and energy retailers, as I mentioned. And so that BD agent is just prompted where it says, hey, go find out. So every day this runs. So it runs through each time, every day. It's my alarm telling me I've got 1 minute to go. Each day, as I said, at 2 o'clock in the morning, this BD agent is waking up. These are all the runs that have gone in the past. And it says, go load your prompt from Notion. And so we keep our prompts in Notion. And Notion is just a database, if you like. This is the prompt that the agent reads every day to run through and do their job. It is a little bit overwhelming, but I have to say I've never written anything in this prompt either. I've just said to Claude, I want a BD agent that does these things, that writes these sort of ways, that makes sure it doesn't thread. And I want the workflow to be reconcile all the things that happened overnight, action the things that are listed in the CRM for you to do, and then be proactive if you see some news story that happens. Change the status, and then wrap up and log it. So that is what the prompt looks like, and it results in us being able to run this business at a fraction of the cost, and the outcomes are pretty amazing. So I know there'll be lots of questions, so I'm not going to have them now, but at the end of the session, feel free to come and jump in and ask me. Thank you very much.